Let's try to do this relatively quickly, because even though we're not over a puddle,
right,
we're probably pulling some water into the prop. Okay, and then voltage left, right, fuel flow, temperatures in the green, pressures green, vacuum, ammeter, done, throttle back. That's quick. But we hit everything. We didn't skip anything.
Yeah.
We just focused on doing it quickly.
Right. Right. Flaps, strobe lights are on. Points. Abort point. So rotate at 55. Abort point is second taxiway. And if the engine fails on the runway, we land straight ahead. Engine after that, we're going into the airspeed numbers. Best climb rate 74, and best glide speed is 65. And we are ready for takeoff.
Okay, so tell ground.
Palo Alto ground, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, run up complete.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, wind 2505. Would you like to remain runway 31? We'll be switching in the next
250. So that's 110. You know what, how about we do a takeoff, we'll come back and do a landing on 13, so teardrop to 13, and we'll see which way the pattern's going after that. But you can move, we can go up to Yankee 1.
Of course, your Papa is, currently we won't be able to approve that actually. We have somebody on final runway 31, hold short Yankee 1 and contact tower.
Hold short Yankee 1, contact tower for Sierra Papa. Delta Tower, Delta Sierra Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, holding short Yankee 1.
Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, Delta Tower, hold short runway 31, landing traffic.
Holding short 31, landing traffic Cessna 4 Sierra Papa.
And wind check 5 for Charlie. Wind 260 at 5. Thank you.
Well, that's for certainly short final. Why am I not getting any traffic? Device is connected. Oh, that's interesting.
Sirius 54 Charlie, do you recall the bases?
It works better to plug in this entry.
We want to say the bases were about 2,000, but we had a really tough time seeing the runway environment until minimums. Sirius 54 Charlie, roger, thank you. On Zulu, contact ground, good day. Over to ground, thanks, 5 for Charlie. Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, make right traffic. Use caution for personnel and equipment left of runway 31 at the Pappies, and runway 31 clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 31, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
Hand on the throttle, don't let go down here. So pattern altitude 800 feet, where right turns. Okay.
So we reach 800 and then...
No, 500 and turn. 300 feet below pattern altitude, we're a little slow.
Okay.
That's... That was your mic, okay.
off at 800.
Throttle back, don't accelerate. Throttle right back, 1900 RPM. 10 flap, turn downwind. Turn downwind, we're getting far from the airport. Okay, we're slow and we're high, nose down. Got to put a little down trim in. We're 150 feet high and a few knots slow. So a little nose down, a little down trim.
4 Sierra Papa, runway 31, clear for the option, wind 240 at 4.
Clear for the option, runway 31, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
240, so that's 70 degrees, but only 4 knots. Now look at our heading. We're angled in toward the runway.
Right.
How's our track? We're about 10 degrees tracking in. So throttle to 1400. So this isn't like Hayward, we're a really low pattern. We're at normal pattern altitude. So we can throttle back a beam the landing point or a beam numbers.
Turn.
Sorry?
And turn right.
Oh yeah.
We are high.
20 flaps. And nose down and trim down till we're at 70. RPM is a little bit high. And since we're really high, you just bring it back a little bit. Not a lot, because we don't want to pull it off and then have to add it again. There we go, GPS. Gotten good data now. So we're half the length and half the width. A little fast. Let go for a second. So you are trimmed down too much. You see how we're going? We're picking up speed?
Right.
So check your speed every so often, and if you're not holding pressure and the speed's wrong, you need to make a trim change. Speed's looking good. We're coming down a little steeper than the glide slope, but we're still above it. There's the glide slope. We're close enough that we can make it, and we can. Are we going up 30 flaps yet? Nope.
Not yet.
Well, we should have, but now you're landing at 20. Power all the way off. We may be long, nose up. Look off to the side a little, nose up.
Star information, Juliet, current wind.
Okay, we can go right now. Full power, and flaps to 10, little right rudder, and rotate. No, you don't want to bring the rest of the flaps up right as you're about to cross the fence.
Okay.
Because that's going to pitch you down. So once you've made your go with 10 flaps, keep it there till you're clear of your obstacles. You're not going to hit anything.
Okay.
Now we can go flaps up.
And then why did you say 10 flaps?
Because it'll get us off the ground more quickly, and we were well down the runway.
I see.
We only had about 1,200 feet remaining on the go.
Okay.
There's one. Remember, raise the wing before you turn. Take a look. Take a quick look. Make sure nobody's there. Okay, now we can turn. Coming up to 800, start throttling back. A little too early, right? We're actually picking up a little speed. So nose up, you'll go up some more. Take a quick look at where we are and turn bit downwind. There's 800 feet, 1900 RPM. As soon as you come out of the turn, you can go 10 flaps. Now, we are now in a colder part of the year than when we started flying. The density altitude is lower, so we don't need as much power. Just a little bit less.
Papa, runway 31, clear for the option.
Runway 31, clear for the option, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
So we just need just a little less power, and that's why with our normal power, we're a little high and a little fast. Gas, mixture, seatbelt, flaps, steady.
Fast, already 10. I'm a little fast, so I should just
Go a little up trim, and since we're on altitude but we're already passing the threshold. Power back to like 1350, and look at how much turned right we are.
Right.
So we want to come over here to be a little more parallel to the runway, because otherwise we have no base leg, and we're going to be high. We need the base leg to come down. Part of the reason we're here, we need to do a few sessions at Palo Alto, so you get used to Palo Alto practice patterns. This is where we're going to solo you. Good. And altitude, how do we look?
high.
Yep, Tony flaps. Yes, mixture, seatbelts, flaps, done. Turn a little nose low and a little fast. I can just hear it and feel it. I don't even have to look at the airspeed.
I am.
We're fast. That fast makes the turn radius wider, which helped us overshoot the final a little bit.
Right.
We're way fast. So throttle back, nose up, full flaps. Full flaps. Now you can nose down again to regain 65. Don't trim up too much. This is as slow as we want to go. Good. Look how much shorter we are this time. You're pumping the nose up and down. Let's go around and we'll talk about that. Power. We have enough distance, flaps up. Now you see, you're holding the nose up. As soon as you went to power, we lifted off, and I'm pushing the nose down so we don't get too slow. Right rudder. That's 2.
The wind isn't doing much.
Nope,
Did you
it's
feel
only
it?
a 4 knots of crosswind.
Right.
And since we don't have the normal headwind that we have,
Right.
the airplane floats about 20% further. So it's really easy to go long with no headwind. When you go from a 10-knot headwind to a 10-knot tailwind, it's like 50% more distance down the runway. Airspeed's a little high, nose has to come up, and you can start throttling back and turn downwind. Turn downwind, we're getting really wide. Oh yeah, you could have done that.
31 clear for the option.
Clear for the options. Runway 31, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
Little down trim. We're just a little slow. Good, pre-landing check.
Pass.
And we're beam the numbers 1350 RPM. Normally we'd be 1400. We're a little cooler, need a little less power. Now the wind is blowing us a little this way, right? Wind's 260, so it's blowing us out a little. We need to be crabbed in a little bit, but we are a little too crabbed to the right. We are getting wider though. The runway, when do we turn?
We should turn now.
Up, yep. Getting slow, that means you're pulling up too much or you have too much up trim. I was pulling up, that's it. Look at that cool shaft of light. Seeing that as the clouds start to break up. How do we look now?
I just put the
Well, actually, I think we're a little low, but we'll find out when we join final if the PAPI lights are working. Yeah, we're definitely a little low. So we'll have to wait a little bit before we go to full flaps. So the PAPI shows we're joining the glide slope right now. Now the wind's from our left, which means now we're low. I knew we were going to be low, right? So we can wait on full flaps for a little bit. Speed's good.
Landing on our left.
Yep. The end of the runway's below the nose. Full flaps and nose down a little bit. Nose down a little. We're over the berm. Power off. Let's work on the center line. Hold us off. Look off to just to like the 45 here. You see the nose should have been up here. See this? We lifted right back off. Power. Just a little back pressure. Flaps to 10. Little more right rudder. And we'll lift off at this pitch attitude. A little more challenging, huh? It's great. I'm loving it.
It is good.
Okay, now we're clear of everything. We can bring the flaps up. Nose up a little.
What's that?
A little turbulence. Okay, take a quick look. Okay, we can roll right back in and yeah, throttle back, but roll in. Don't wait for us to get really wide, which is what we're doing now. Power's too high. We're fast and climbing.
Grab to the left a little bit.
To the right just a tiny bit. We think the wind is from the right. Remember, the wind's along.
Papa runway 31, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 31, Cessna 49 for Sierra Papa.
Remember, the wind's aloft. We're all like 270.
Right.
Notice we're at 90 knots because we still don't have 10 flaps. The power is a little high. I'm going to turn up all the lights. Burn my sunglasses, but probably don't need to. Okay, downwind to beam is where we normally need to pull the power back, and it's not all the way back. Not back to approach power, and that's why we're already high.
Off our next one.
Extend. Words like drop scare passengers.
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
You're not or you are?
I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Palo Alto Tower, holding short of Yankee 1, 305 Romeo Sierra, ready for takeoff.
Cessna 305 Romeo Sierra, Palo Alto Tower, hold short, runway 31, landing traffic.
Hold short, runway 31, landing traffic, 5 Romeo Sierra.
Yeah, we're drifting a little right, and you see the windsock now showing a left crosswind. Don't forget to bring the 30 flaps in here. There it is, 30. Nose down a little so we don't get slower. Now we could go power off. Hold that nose up. Work the center line. We're not on the center line. It's too much left rudder. There you go. And hold the airplane off. That's the pitch attitude. Look how much nicer that is. Power, rudder, flaps.
Cessna 5 Romeo Sierra, follow
Runway 31.
Isn't it amazing how
It was
much
good.
nicer the airplane lands when it's nose up?
Yeah.
It's telling you, this is how I like to land. Land me nose up. There's a line from an animated movie, and I don't remember which one it is, where the characters are animals, and one says, "You hear that? That's the wind talking to us." And one of the other characters says, "What's it saying?" And he says, "I don't know, I don't speak wind." Well, that's the airplane talking to us, and I do speak airplane. 90 knots, you're pushing down, nose up, throttle back, turn downwind. Mostly I understand airplane, I don't speak it. Yeah, maybe I speak it a little bit. When you see visibility like this, you can say, yeah, maybe staying here was the better idea. We're losing altitude, we're 95 knots, we want to be at 75. That was for us. Oh, no, it wasn't. What was that one for?
For Cessna 4 Sierra Papa.
Clear for the option, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, runway 31.
Somebody answered for that for us, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't you. You see how far away from the runway we are?
Right.
So that's because you spent a few extra seconds on crosswind with a tailwind. I'll have to see what it is next time around, but I'll bet you it's like a 15-knot tailwind, maybe more. So look at the runway. See how far away we are?
Yeah.
Turn an early base, because we have a longer path on base.
Right.
Cessna 5 Romeo Sierra, do you require any assistance?
Negative. We're fine. 5 Romeo Sierra.
And why did he ask?
Because he answered my call?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I think we're fast. Nope, we're okay. RPM's a little high, that's why. And that's helping here. So our ground speed's 68, we got about a 7 or 8 knot headwind right now. So it's probably around a 12 knot wind at that altitude. We'll see when we're up on the crosswind again. Went a little through the final. Now we're going a little low. It looks like we'll need a little power.
Number 2, follow Cessna short final, runway 31, clear for the
We
option.
need a little power at 100 RPM.
Clear for the option, 5 Romeo Sierra.
Little turbulence there. We're still getting a downdraft. We'd have to add maybe a little more power, and we could go to 30 flaps. Nose down a little bit and power off. We're getting a tailwind here. We're a little right rudder. Get us lined up with the center line. You're looking over the nose. That's why you can't see how high we are. Power. We really need to go around by the time we reach. Oh, and I forgot the right rudder. We need to go around before we get to that last taxiway.
Okay.
Nose down a little, and we're not quite 10 flaps. That's better. 5. Told you it'd be entertaining. I like it. Now we can get flaps up. All right, our ground speed 62. We're not getting much headwind here. Let's let the nose down, accelerate to VY. Oh, look, you're holding back pressure. Huh?
So why was he asking the other plane?
I don't know. I wanted to ask him, why are you asking them that? We can turn 500. Let's roll in a little steeper, get the turn going. I need a little more right rudder, just a little bit. They were coming up 700. 750, you can slowly, well, go a little longer. We had a little bit of a downdrift there. Ground speed's now 100. So we have about a 15 knot crosswind. So we take a quick look and then we roll right into the downwind, power back to 1900 so we don't go high and fast. We had a 16 knot tailwind on crosswind. That's why we were going so wide.
Okay.
So you need to, from the winds aloft, we knew that was going to happen, which means we have almost an instantaneous crosswind.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, runway 31, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 31, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
So we finish our turn, we roll out and say, oh, we're really wide already, turn. And if we had a headwind, nose down a little bit because the flaps are pitching us up. If we had a headwind on the crosswind turn, then we'd need to fly longer. We're a beam, power to 1400. We're slow, so nose down a little. The reason we were slow is you throttled back a little too much.
5 Romeo Sierra, runway 31, taxi via Zulu. Each time this frequency, advise when terminating.
Taxi back via Zulu and advise when terminating.
Notice we're slow by 10 knots. You need a little more down trim. Oh, you're holding up elevator pressure. And we can turn. That's rain. You see the slant?
Yeah.
The wind is blowing the cloud along, so the rain comes down at a slanting angle. Looks really different as we go around the pattern on a windy day, which you probably can't appreciate because you haven't been here in the pattern much.
Right.
Ground speed is now 70 versus 78 indicated. We got about an 8 knot crosswind component down here at 300 feet. RPM's a little low. Look at both windsocks. They're not quite aligned, but they're both wind from our left. We're getting slow. Nose to add a little power and nose down. We're still slow. Nose down a little without removing power. Now we can pull the power off. A little left wing down, or too high. You're looking over the nose. Look off to here, right? Hold it up. We landed a little flat, but better. Power. Flaps, right rudder. And rotate. Up, no. 6. How hard, tight are you holding the yoke? Right there. See, as soon as you let go, the nose went up.
Right.
Not trim. So try to make a little lighter grip so you can tell if you're pushing or pulling. And if you're pushing or pulling, to maintain speed, use the trim, Luke. You can go flaps up. Remember, the nose will come down, a little up trim. And you can turn crosswind. Here comes pattern altitude. Now we're 90 knots. You can just pull us up. We'll slow down and get to pattern altitude. That was good. You flew only crosswind for a few seconds because of that big tailwind, and now we're at a more reasonable distance than before. This is rain. See, it's just running off the windshield?
Yeah.
See it like right here? So that tells you we really don't need wipers.
Cessna 5 Romeo Sierra, runway 31, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 31, 5 Romeo Sierra.
We're pretty nose high. Why? Because we don't have 10 flaps. If you see something that doesn't look right,
Sierra Papa, runway 31, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 31, Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
if something's not right in pitch or speed, you got to say, what's wrong? Is it configuration? Is it power? Well, you put out the flaps and didn't put enough down trim in, now we're getting slow. A beam, power to 1400 or 1350 for today. Here we're getting blown away from the airport. We're further out than we were before.
Right.
So we
You have to
angle in a
rehab
little,
that
and then we can turn a little early because we're further out. We're flying a longer base. So it's a compensation for the wider downwind is to turn an earlier base to shorten up the distance. That little let go to check the trim, that's a good thing to do. But you could just leave your hand just resting on the yoke without letting go completely, but that works pretty well. We're way further wide on the downwind, which is making us lower here. Also the fact we're picking up speed. So you could probably add a little power as you nose up so that we don't get too low. This is great conditions to train in. I'm loving it. We're a little low, speed's good, flaps are good. Right there, that might have been a downdraft. See how we got lower? So you could add a little power. A little more power. Still we're red. We're getting low over the berm. Got to correct to the center line. Left wing down, right rudder, more right rudder. A little too high yet. Oh, it's good. Oop, you lifted it, you pulled us off. Now we're going to be full stop now because we didn't make our point to go around. So stick back, brakes, and we want to get slowed down early when it's wet because we don't want to come to the end and find out we can't hold the brakes. Stick all the way back. All right, cool. That's 7. Wait. Don't turn too early. Okay, keep rolling.
Zulu, each time this frequency, advise on terminating.
I'll take it. 4 Sierra Papa, 3-1, taxi via Zulu, and each time. See look at the edge of the asphalt?
Right.
See how it kind of slopes down and is cracking? So it's soft at the edge. And if you get too close, particularly if you put a wheel onto the dirt, it may sink right into the soft earth when it's wet, and then all kinds of bad things happen. The airplane will turn, we could stick the nose wheel in, the prop could hit the ground. So make sure that you're staying on the center line as you turn off. Mixture, okay, we're good. Look at that windsock. That's 70 degrees or so.
Another one.
Huh?
There are 2.
Yeah, there are 2.
Cessna 5 Romeo Sierra, wind 250 at 9er, runway 31, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, 315.
Do we talk to ground?
No, he said taxi back each time this frequency and advise terminating. That's what they do here because they don't want to hear you every time you go around. At most other airports, they'll have you contact ground each time unless they're totally not busy. Palo Alto, they do it this way. Don't want to go too fast on a day like that. Look, we never actually set up the GPS. Maybe I'll do that now. 013.
All the way?
All the way down.
We don't have our taxi lights on. That
Doesn't matter. Got runway, got landing? You actually have taxi on.
I mean, the landing.
So turn landing on and taxi off. Remember your taxi light's like $120, and your landing light's about 30. And so if you want to use one so that other airplanes can see us, use the landing light. We went just some big puddles there.
Sierra Papa, keep it rolling, runway 31, clear for takeoff, traffic, 1 mile right base Cessna.
Clear for takeoff, runway 31, and we'll look for the traffic. Actually, traffic in sight. Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
Okay, keep rolling is what he said. Yeah, not exactly close. And I got your up elevator trim in there, which you didn't get on the go, or on the after we landed. It's good now. You don't have to look at it. A little too much back pressure. Don't get too nose high yet. And now we can lift off. Goes down a little. Look how low the tide is over here. All the stuff that's normally underwater you can see. Still a little too nose high and a little slow. Now the wind is already blowing us to the right, so we don't want to turn too much right. We'll get way far out over the bay as we turn crosswind. Take a look at where we are. Roll out. No, look at how far out we are. See, we're really far out. Turn right.
Cessna 305 November, Palo Terra, hold short Yankee 1, awaiting IFR release.
Hold short Yankee 1, 05 November.
As we were turning, you were down to like 15 degrees of bank, which makes the turn radius wider, makes us wider.
I'm gonna crab a little bit to the right.
Yeah, sure.
The option.
Clear for the option, runway 31, Cessna 4940 Papa.
Goes down. Remember, each time you put the flaps out, it's going to pitch up. So just push it back towards level, hold that, and then trim off the pressure. Fly the airplane with the stick, take the pressure off with the yes. Mixtures, seat belts, flaps, power to 14 or 1350. And let the nose down. Don't hold it up. Just a little up trim so we stay at 75. That's what you want. We can see those improving conditions.
Hi.
We're pretty low here.
05 November, hold short runway 31, landing traffic.
Short 31, 05 November.
Go. Flaps 10. Can't wait. Flaps 10. Oh, you are flaps 10. All
I
right.
was flight.
Okay.
Cessna 05 November, wind 2407, runway 31, clear for takeoff.
For takeoff, runway 31, 05 November.
We are clear of everything.
Cessna 40 Papa, early right crossing when able.
Early crosswind, 40 Papa. Turn now. we may get to the downwind before we get to pattern altitude.
Why did he do that?
IFR departure maybe, I'm not sure.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, runway 31, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 31, Cessna 494, Sierra Papa.
So this is about the right distance, and this is about the closest we've been.
November, if able, pass along a base and tops would be appreciated, and contact departure.
Okay, you see that guy? He's taking off on an instrument flight.
Cessna 05 November, contact departure, please. Contact departure, 05 November.
Number 4 Sierra Papa, are you getting ADS-B off the departing aircraft?
What was that? What's up with my ADS-B 5 Romeo Sierra?
I was just wondering, I was asking Tower if he saw it.
And Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, affirmative, we're picking it up.
Okay, checking my equipment, doesn't show him, thank you. Yeah, we got a little further out here on final this time. Nose is high, speed is low. We're on the glide slope, good. Now I'm picking him up. So the conditions are such that we're getting pretty low here. So let's add a little power. Normally we don't like to have to add power on final, but you don't want to get real low and drag it in over the fence. So add a little more power, and you're bringing the nose up. That's why we're getting slow. Add more power. See how low we are? Look at the berm. We're not going to go real high over the berm, and we may not get to 30 flaps, which we'd like to do on a wet runway. Okay, now the berm's below the nose, we can pull the power back.
Romeo Sierra, wind 250 at 7, runway 31, clear for the option.
31 clear for the option, 5 Romeo Sierra.
Look at the pitch. Yeah, that's it. You're still looking over here as you're getting into your flare. You got to be looking there.
I think I'm sitting high.
Okay. Well, your eyes aren't any higher than mine. Maybe this much higher, so you can see a little bit longer down the runway.
Right.
But you're flaring high because you can't see the ground. So if you look out there, you can see the ground. Right?
Right.
Here. Are you warm enough?
I think I'm okay.
All right.
If you need some heat, we can.
When I feel a little cool, you're wearing a short sleeve shirt, so I just want to make sure you're not feeling cold.
Oh, I'm okay.
Boy, look how low the tide is.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, number 2, follow Cessna, right base to 1.25 miles, final, wind 250 at 7, runway 31, clear for the option.
Number 2, clear for the option. Cessna 494 Sierra Papa, and we have the traffic in sight.
ForeFlight was showing me that guy was at our altitude, and clearly he's not, and now he dropped off. So I'm not sure. There's something wrong with something here. I'm not sure if it's us or him or ForeFlight or my GPS, my Stratix, don't know. But things aren't working great today.
Is that correct, flying 40 Papa?
Nope. Sorry?
What did he ask?
It was a Craig or Greg.
Oh, he was looking for some person.
Yep.
Hi.
Just FYI, I think my Stratix isn't working so great in the rain. See how far out we got? You delayed your turn. I'm not sure why, but we're well far out now. We're over a mile final.
Wait to send our flaps.
Alto Tower, Skyline 192 Tango Golf, 2009.
9102 Tango Golf, Alto Tower, continue the approach if able to appreciate any base and tops reported.
2 Tango Golf, first we got Juliet, layer, multiple layers, one of the tops was 4,300 and bases is 2,300.
So you see we're low, right? We're getting really low. Add some power. You don't want to get to the point where we're so low we have to add lots of power.
We're at 10 flaps right now.
Yeah, and do we want to land with 10 flaps when the runway's wet?
No.
So see if we can go to 20. And now we're going to pull the power. We're going past the berm. Let it come down a little further. You're getting nose high too soon. Now we can flare and look off to the side at like a 45. You're a little late. Nose down. Much better on that rudder. That was a good go around. So what's happening is we're turning base a little late. We're getting far out, which means with our standard descent rate, well, I'm going to wait till you get up to pattern before I discuss it, so you focus.
Caroline 2 Tango Golf, 1 Cessna will depart ahead of you, wind 240 at 7, runway 31, clear to land.
Runway 31, clear to land, 2 Tango Golf, we'll watch for the Cessna.
Cessna 5 Romeo Sierra, extend upwind to the train bridge, wind 250 at 7, runway 31, clear for takeoff.
Runway 31, clear for takeoff. We'll extend up to the train bridge, 5 Romeo Sierra.
So we're going a little long before we turn base, which means we have a longer path to fly, which means we'll lose more altitude. And you're getting low, and it's correct to delay flaps.
In the 4 Sierra Papa, extend down on your number 2, following a skylane on a 3-mile GPS final, ascend at 1,400. You can extend into Moffett.
Number 2, we're looking for the traffic. Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
He's 4 miles away, so we're not going to see him. And I know that because I can see him on ADSB.
Okay.
So as I was saying, we are turning a little late, which means there's a longer path to fly, and we have this big crosswind on base leg, which means we're going to be longer on base leg, we lose more altitude. So by the time we get to final, we're low. And if we don't make a change, we'll just get lower and lower. What you want to do is put power in to keep us from getting really low.
Because other... Papa, try to follow ahead into your right at a 1.5 mile final, altitude indicates 800.
Traffic inside will follow the traffic. Number 2, clear for the options, runway 31. Cessna 49 approach Sierra Papa.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, there wasn't an option clearance. That was just a sequence of your traffic to follow, but you are number 2 now following that Cessna, wind 250 at 7, runway 31, clear for the option.
Clear for the option. I stand corrected. Cessna 49 approach Sierra Papa.
That's good. I like it. So we can turn. So now that we had to extend like 2 miles, we're actually 2 miles from the airport. We just got to hold the power in and hold altitude till we join the glide slope. And you can see we're red. Keep turning. You know, if we make a slow turn, we're getting even further from the airport.
I lost sight of the airport.
That's all right. That's fine. So now don't nose down. You're nosing down and picking up speed. So nose up and nose up. You're 90 knots, right? So we can throttle back a little. And we're going to get glide slope here in a moment. There it is. And now we can come back to our normal power setting. Normal power setting. We're still a little high. There it is. And we got 77 knots indicated and 70 knots ground speed, so about a 7-knot headwind.
Cessna 5 Romeo Sierra, number 2, follow Cessna mile final, wind 250 at 8, runway 31, clear for the option.
31, clear for the option, 5 Romeo Sierra.
Yeah, see how the crosswind blew us to the right?
Right.
This is so cool. It's so much fun. But don't put the nose down, right? So now we could go to 20 flaps. We're about normal distance for 20 flaps.
Sky 2 Tango Golf, exit Echo on Zulu, contact ground, good night.
Nice job in bringing it back with a slip.
Contact on 2 Tango Golf.
Nose up just a little for speed. Nose up. We're still too fast. Nose up. We should be, I don't know, are you pushing the nose down? So you don't have enough up trim. Okay, now we're getting low. And if we're getting low, you're going to be late on your flaps or not use them. All right, now we got the end of the runway, so now full flaps. A little pitch down. Keep working the center line. We pass the berm, power off. There's our stop. So there's the arrest. Now look off to the side. Look for that pitch. Look for the pitch. See that? You get a better touchdown every time. Relax the back pressure, power, right rudder. Don't forget the rudder. And rotate. Probably do about 4 more.
Okay.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Good. So you can see we can see to Coyote Hills, but it's a little hazy on the left side.
Yep.
So yeah, being here is probably the good thing to do today. Yeah, let me see if I can pick up the weather. I'm not getting any ADS-B towers, which is curious. Yeah, they're calling it broken 13, overcast 18, so that'd be a little dicey to be over there. Ooh.
Use caution for geese crossing left to right, up short final.
Oh, no kidding. 5 Romeo Sierra is right on the final. Huh.
Cessna 4 Sierra Papa, number 1, wind 250 at 9er, runway 31, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 31, Cessna 49 approach Sierra Papa.
All right, next couple I'm going to try not to say anything.
flaps now.
Try not to say anything. You do what you think is right.
Okay.
Right rudder, left wing down. Wing. More right rudder. See us going off to the left side.
If I keep 30 flaps, can I take off shorter distance?
No, it'll be longer.
Moderate precipitation approaching from the west. Currently
Because of more drag.
Yep.
Field about 3 miles in diameter east to west and about 10 miles north to south. Cessna 5 Romeo Sierra number 1, wind 270 at 7, runway 31, clear for the option.
31 clear for the option, 5 Romeo Sierra.
So tell me about the 30-degree flap in the last landing. Did I extend it at the right time?
No, you're late, and I think you were asking me,
Right.
and just because you weren't confident, you delayed it, and that really got you off your game a bit.
Okay.
It was the right time to do it. Could have done it. So we were a little late. We got a little bit behind, landed a little long because we didn't get draggy enough early enough. But it worked out.
Traveling a little bit.
Yeah, and he should be, there he is, right over there.
Sierra Papa number 2, follow Cessna ahead of you on right base, wind 260 at 7, runway 31, clear for the option.
Number 2 clear for the option, and we have the Cessna in sight. Cessna 494 Sierra Papa.
So since he flew a much wider pattern, we're getting closer to him. So I don't think we're gonna pass him on the downwind. You can throttle back, but we'll have to extend a little bit. This is sort of a difficult situation because we're having to extend, but not a lot. So the question becomes when do we throttle back? And I think that, that's why I said when that needed to be. We kind of split the difference between downwind to beam and extended, and it's just a guess. And now we've passed him, we can turn. Haven't turned 90 degrees yet. We're getting further away from the airport.
Across the airport, when right across Zulu to the ramp and possible.
Airport Papa, you proceed across Zulu back to the ramp. Have a good night.
Proceed across Zulu back to the ramp. And I'll be back out in a little bit.
Airport 1 Roger, you still need to do work at the 3-1 Pappy. Airport 1 Roger.
Just drifting right, so the crosswind's getting stronger up here. Yeah, we could go to 20 flap, but we are a little low on the Pappy, so we can leave the power's a little high, and that's good. We'll just keep leaving it there till we get to the glide slope, or until the end of the runway goes below the nose. Now we're a little fast for 20 flaps, and if we pull it up, now the end of the runway's below the nose, 30 flaps. Now we're on the glide slope, power to 14, and now this is where we want to be, and now you're perfect. And as the berm goes below the nose, right here, power can go off. Now we get to our round out, and now you look off to the side, but look for the pitch, gotta be higher. Who would have thought? Right rudder. And, let's get that flap to 10, we're flying with flaps 30.
was like a kiss to the ground.
Gee, you get the flare right and it lands soft. Huh, why didn't I say that before? Oh, God, what a shock.
It was like we kissed the ground.
Uh-huh. It's a good flare and the right attitude. That's what you're looking for. We're a little nose high and slow, right? Just looking over here, I can see that the pitch is high. We're going to be slow. Oh boy, do we have a heck of a crosswind here. Knots of tailwind on the crosswind.
I barely spent any time in the crosswind.
Yep.
Flaps, gas mixture. Flaps.
Might be a little too much crab. It is.
260 at 7, runway 31, clear for takeoff.
Got to come about 5 degrees left.
Snuff 40, Papa 1 Cessna will depart ahead of you, wind 260 at 7, runway 31, clear for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 31, Cessna 494, Papa, and we'll follow the departing traffic.
Now you've turned in a whole lot. We're actually converging on the center line a lot. So we got to bear off a little to the left or we won't have much of a base leg. And where is our power setting?
1900.
Oh, do we want to be maintaining level flight here? So now we're going to be high. But we could turn. There's a bunch of wind on the base leg. That'll help us.